Hey, good morning, everyone. William Hemsworth here. Welcome back to the Bible Catholic channel here on YouTube. God bless you all for joining me. We're going to have a fun show today. For those who've listened to my podcast, I have talked to John Kraemer before of the Lego Church Project, but this is our first time doing a live stream. So I thought it'd be fun to get John on. We'll bring some pictures up. We'll talk about his project. So John of the Lego Church Project, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm not doing too bad. Thank you for having me again, man. Greatly appreciate it.
Oh no, my absolute pleasure. Always fun to talk to you. But since we're going live, I wanted to do something a little different, and maybe we could start. Maybe we start from the beginning. Maybe you tell our listeners, our viewers, a little something about yourself and how you got started with the project.
Well, for starters, I'm based in Saginaw, Michigan, which is about 2 hours or so north of Detroit. We're a decent sized city. Used to be a very heavily GM influenced town. Auto industry is like one of our big things, and we still got next year. Still got a GM plant in the area as well. So we're still fairly. We got the automotive and stuff. The project kind of started. Like all things that God has us do, sometimes we don't expect to go down this road. And when I was a kid, I used to build churches. My friends were building spaceships. I wasn't good at doing that. I didn't have the right kind of visualization needed. But I could do buildings, and they slowly started turning into churches. So I had the church, this one church I had built around Christmas time, had not taken it down yet, and after talking with some members of the Mount Zion community in Flushing, decided to bring it out there for a week. And it was beautiful. Everyone loved it. And so it kind of started that opening up the door a little bit to turning this into just a child hobby into something a little more elaborate. What really kind of changed things for me, though, was when I did my first Christmas display back in 2003 at my home parish. Now, I was still living in Flushing at the time. I had moved from Saginaw to Flushing, which is another 40 minutes south of where I'm at now. And everything just kind of fell into place. I started doing the Christmas displays, started doing some additional displays, and so it just kind of really took off. And then, of course, within that, kind of developed the ministry of the disability issues, showing that no matter what challenge or disability you face, God can still use your talents. That is a motto that I use in describing what I do. I've got a malformed cerebral palsy, so that kind of everything kind of ties in together with that.
All right. Now you just finished season 22. If I'm not, am I correct on that?
Still in the middle of season 22.
You're in the middle of season 20.
Yeah.
Okay. I keep track of everything. I try to keep track of everything on Twitter and Facebook. I saw a little off on that.
Not always easy, man. Not always easy.
So, as you're building these, I mean, we talk about evangelism and everything, and this is a big part of your ministry. How does building these churches evangelize people?
Well, it's a prayer, really. I'm praying with my hands. I'm praying for the situations around me, whether it is issues within the church, divisions, or other things that we're facing. Prayers for the people, the communities, the parish communities, that especially those that got hit real hard during the recent world crises and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I really put a lot of effort into prayer with my projects. So each time I'm building, I'm sharing a story of parish life. And so you kind of see where I'm going with my own level of faith as I'm building. As an artist, how your emotions kind of come across in your build. And people can tell when you're having fun with the build, even when things are not going according to plan, you're still having fun. You're still that joy that you have, that love of what you're doing radiates through. And that, in a way, is an evangelization, because you're showing people you live by example. You live by example. And I think one of the best ways to evangelize is by being an example to others. This is how I live my faith. I'm very creative, and I use my talents for God, and that's what comes through most times in my work.
Over the course of the 22 seasons that you've been doing the project, how do you transport the project, and what happens at the parish once you're there?
Well, a typical parish display for me, well, number one, to answer your first question, the project actually sits on a plywood base that I've been using for a very long time. It sits comfortably on there, and it's built within that space. I think the board is like 48 by 26 inches. And just to put for everyone watching, to put into perspective, the projects alone are usually about between 45 to 47 inches long with a width of about 24 inches. And with a height of about 23 inches, depending on what I'm doing for the year. So we're talking a very, very big project. So it says on this plywood base, 2 people can easily move it as long as they can lift 40 pounds. So once we get set up in a parish display, it'll set up in a single spot, and I will usually be off to the side or somewhere during the masses where I can talk to people. I can interact with people who are looking at the project. They're pointing out things to themselves. They're pointing out things to me. They're asking me questions. Usually the common ones is how long did it take and how many Lego bricks are involved in it. And then sometimes I'll get how many people are inside. The project season can take me, the build portion can take me from 1 to 2 months depending on what I'm doing. And as I often joke, how many orders to Bricklink do I have in for that time? Bricklink being a Lego marketplace.
Okay.
I can use up to about 25 to 30,000 pieces depending. A lot of the detail work on the floors can easily take up a couple thousand pieces. I tried to count it one time.
Wow. When I try to do Legos with my kids, the only thing I could build is like one of those little towers that goes straight up. I can't do anything else. I have no artistic imagination, I guess. But my kids are building the Titanic, and I'm just building this tower. So as you're talking with people at the parishes, I know you said you've talked about how many bricks and all that. Have there been any other conversations of faith, like just about the faith in general, that have come up?
Yeah, usually when it comes in terms of the passion of what I'm doing, I think one of the biggest surprises that people get is in the fact that, number one, I have a disability. It's not easily seen. So when I tell them I've got malformed cerebral palsy, they're just like this shocked look on their face. It's like they find it kind of hard to believe. And the second surprise is when I tell them that I'm not a trained engineer or architect. I'm not formally trained in anything. And yet I am building these fairly complex builds that have to be able to endure being able to move easily enough and are strong enough to withstand the troubles of travel. It's like one bump that sends everything flying, so to speak.
Right.
So we talk a little bit about faith. We talk about what motivates me. Why do I keep doing this for 22 years? That is a surprise in itself. If you're going to tell me 10 years ago, I'd be sitting here right now talking about this. I'm not sure what I would be thinking at that point.
Yeah, so you said you started off as a kid. You're building churches as a kid, and then and here we are in the middle of season 22, and you have these elaborate things, and just so everyone knows, you've been you've done stories about you on Catholic Mom, Detroit Catholic, things of that nature. You've been on the Sunrise Morning Show, and today you're going to be on Busted Halo, if I'm correct.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
So people are starting to notice your great work, and that's fantastic.
Also, too, they're also starting to notice the fact that I talk about disability.
Yes,
I talk about the importance of it, and I use. In a lot of ways, my project is able to open up doors because they see that it's something cool, but then they start learning the deeper meaning behind it. Why am I doing this? What drives a 44-year-old to spend his life doing this and enjoy every moment of it? Because I believe that there are always going to be issues within the church, and I believe that I have an opportunity to be a voice for people that are often overlooked. Whether you have an obvious disability or, in my case, more of an invisible one. We need more voices like that within the church. We need to change the attitudes that some people have. And it can be a struggle at times to feel accepted. And that may not necessarily be what's actually going on in the world, but sometimes we all have our own self-doubts, so to speak.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And you make an important point, John. Especially when it comes to evangelization. Sometimes there's this view out there that that's the priest's job, or that's the deacon's job, or that's the job of the bishop, whatever the case is. But we all have a gift that we can give to the church for the cause of evangelization. You build churches with Legos. It helps bring conversation and all that. So I guess, John, what would you say to someone who maybe has that view? Like, evangelization, I don't have anything to offer. What would you say to someone like that?
We all have something to offer. Sometimes the best way to evangelize is by taking part in the smallest act. Every act of kindness, every time we live our faith publicly, we are planting seeds. We are allowing the Holy Spirit to work through us, even in the smallest of ways. Everyone has the ability to evangelize, and many times we're evangelizing in ways we don't even see. Like I said, a handshake here and there, or offering someone within the parish a ride who may not have one. That's evangelization. And it's not always about money. It's not always about that. It's sharing the love of the faith, sharing the love of Christ, and you have to have that when you're doing a project like mine. You have to have a passion for that. You have to have a love of it that is deeper than the foundations of a building. You really do, because you're putting yourself out there constantly.
Yeah.
You're going to have people, you're going to run into people that may not agree with you and whatnot, but you know what? Christ warned us that this was going to happen.
Yeah, so you talk about the passion, having a passion for this. You're talking about 25,000 Legos. How long does it make you to build one project?
It'll take me, this season 22 took me almost 2 months to build.
How many hours a day?
I worked on it from anywhere from 1 hour a day to up to 5 or 6 hours, depending on what I'm doing for that day. I can easily sit and work on it in stretches, and there's some days where it feels like I got everything done, and some days where it feels like I didn't do anything at all. But it's like, I'll give you a case in point. The tile floors on season 22 took about 8 to 10 hours to do over the course of a day or two. And then, of course, you have another couple hours that it took to put in the rest of the flooring and the main flooring of the worship side of the building. That is a very slow process. Basically playing a jigsaw puzzle. And heaven forbid you make a mistake, because then you got to take everything up and start over, and it's not fun.
Yeah, can't even imagine. So I want to do something different today. I have some pictures pulled up, and we'll share a screen and we'll go over each of them. There's 4 pictures, maybe 5, but maybe I can bring it up and you could describe what's going on.
Okay.
Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Give me 1 second here. Let me share the screen. This way, the audience can see as well exactly what we're talking about with all the great stuff you're doing and all the detail that goes into it. All right, let's see what we got coming up here.
There we go.
Here we go.
Yes, season 4.
Tell us about this guy.
Out of all the projects, this is probably the smallest one I've done to date. And the kind of interesting story on that one was I was trying to go for a completely different design from the previous 3 seasons. This also happens to be the first one I took to Christ the Good Shepherd back when we were called St. Helens here in Saginaw for Christmas. This is the project that really kind of set things into motion, and it's still one of my favorite ones. Just in terms of not only from the unique shape, but also one other little point is at the base of the bell tower. There's like a little tiny little gray lever that connected to a rod that could actually ring the bell. A precursor to some of the little rubber tire I use in the newer projects to ring the bells. Oh man, yeah, that brings back a lot of interesting memories.
All right. Give me 1 second. We'll pull up another one here. Oh,
there we go.
I accidentally took you off the stream instead. That's the wonders of doing this live sometimes. Okay, so let's get another one on.
I could tell you horror stories of working on live TV when I used to help out one of the Christian television stations. The production manager didn't know what he was doing, and well, let's just say it was kind of interesting. Season 20.
The story? What's season 20? Okay.
Oh man, that was an interesting build. This was the first like major attempt at trying to do lights on both the lower half and the upper half of the building, which I had never done before at this point. So the lower half lights get wired into the one bell tower, which is then connected to the other bell tower. And that was also an attempt I was trying to redesign how I was doing the where the roof cross sits. Was trying to make a smaller pedestal for it, and it worked out okay. The grates on the back of the bell tower were just held in with clips, and if you bumped it wrong, yeah, that caused some problems. I actually had to redesign the towers after one display because when they brought it back, they accidentally crashed one of the towers.
Oh wow.
I mean, I had it fixed in 20 minutes. I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal for me. I'm just sitting there laughing at it.
Were they freaking out?
Yeah, they were freaking out. I remember sending an email back to the person about a half hour later with the title, "Fixed it." That was a fun build. That was Father Silas's picture was inside it again, like I had for season 18, and it was just a lot of fun with it. Did a vacation Bible study at All Saints Parish that year. That was a lot of fun. Got to meet a lot of kids. They were just loving it. They were just truly loving what I was doing.
All right. I bet the kids love it. I mean, my boys, when I show them this, they're in absolute awe. So let's pull up another one here. Let's see. And I have a couple of the. Yeah, here we go. Here's one for the inside.
I believe that is season 21. That is actually kind of interesting because that was built during the pandemic. And one of my current pictures that I use for my profile on Twitter came from that build, where I'm holding this giant roof cross. That's when I was in the local diocesan magazine. They had sent a photographer reporter out, and she was loving it. She was just enjoying every moment of watching me work on things a little bit. And then we had her get a picture of me holding the roof cross, which is a separate piece and fairly heavy. I don't think people realize that how much Lego can actually weigh, and that's about 2.5 pounds of Legos, probably.
Wow.
But yeah, that season 21 was a rather interesting build because I was built right as the pandemic was starting to hit. All heck was breaking loose, but I'm still really impressed with how it turned out. I like how season 21 turned out.
All right, so let's go ahead. Let's pull up another one here. I believe I tried to get a couple of that were from the inside so they could see all the detail that goes into this. There we go. Oh, it didn't come up, huh? Let's try it again.
Technology is wonderful most times.
One second, folks. All right, so dang it. You know what?
That's season 4.
For whatever reason. I know I'm trying to find the right one here, man. For whatever, my computer just totally moved the screen on me. I had the tabs lined up the way I wanted them.
Yeah,
so it's turning into a blooper reel, John.
I'm having fun though, man. Seriously.
Oh, me too.
Battle plans rarely survive first contact with the enemy. I will tell you while you're trying to figure that out, I'll tell you one fun story from season 19 that I did.
There we
Depending
go.
on which. Ooh, oh yeah, that's from season 20. That is during the build of it when I was working on the tabernacle. I think, yeah, because I've got Father Silas's photo in the side there. Rather interesting story about that one. Talking about that photo for a moment. I had first used it in season 18, which would have been built around 2017, just before they announced his beatification. I had actually reached out to the Father Silas Center to see if they could send me some information, and they could also send me something I could use as a photo, because I really felt the need to include him in the project. My grandparents, both sides of my family, grandparents knew him. In fact, the story goes that my grandmother used to live right across the street from the monastery where he was at the time. So there's a lot of deep connections to him and my family, which I wanted to incorporate. And sure enough, they sent me information, got that beautiful photo. And so as we're going into season 20, I decided to kind of revisit history a little bit and brought that photo back with my version of the relic cross I had done at the end of season 18 that I eventually incorporated into that particular project. I found a spot that I could use it. And it was just kind of rather interesting event with that. And I actually still have that frame and picture. Last year I built a picture box for it, and it's now sitting underneath my television.
Awesome. Good deal.
And I have a very deep. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I have a very deep appreciation for Father Silas, as you can tell. I see a lot of the similarities between my own life with the learning disabilities and the challenge that he had to face. And yet, here he is, a humble man, love of the faith, and you could tell through the interactions that he had how deeply he loved Christ. It was just very apparent, and it's something worth emulating. It's something really to aspire to be such a humble servant, and that no matter where your circumstances, you can still serve God. And that is definitely one of the reasons why I admire his story so much.
Now, you said in past conversations that building these churches during the project is a prayer. How is it a prayer for you?
It is a prayer because I put everything before God. All my worries, all my anxieties, all the struggles I have with the build, all of it goes into my hands. I'm praying for those who are maybe struggling. Oftentimes when I'm working, my struggles become apparent, whether I've pulled a muscle in my back by lifting something wrong, which I've done before, or just the general struggles of trying to make something work. In a way, that becomes a prayer because I'm praying for those struggles, praying through those struggles, but not just for myself, but for those around me and those whose prayer requests I often see. During the course of a season, I'm always looking at social media, and I see a lot of prayer requests on there, and so that gets taken into account into what I'm doing, and I love it. I love the prayerful aspect of the project itself. I've often used the term. This term actually goes back a long ways. Praying at the bricks. I have used that term many times over the years, even before I started doing more active role on social media. That was one of my phrases. And really, when you think about it, we often pray in many different ways. And there are many different ways to pray. When we make the sign of the cross, that itself is a prayer in a lot of ways. So here I am working countless hours on trying to build something rather unique. And there's always a challenge in that. But God works through those challenges, and it's amazing what happens when things come together, even better than we could ever hope or expect.
So we're in the middle of season 22 right now. What's up next for this season?
Well, we're still working out details for a parish display at All Saints Parish in Bay City, Michigan. We're also still sorting out the details for the annual Christmas Advent display at Christ the Good Shepherd in Saginaw. I'm still praying for a few other opportunities to take the project public. I've also got it set up at a fairly decent location here in my apartment complex, so that way if I get the occasional straggler who wants to come in and see it. In fact, it was kind of funny. We had Complex, the management company that operates the complex, they had their higher-ups in the other day, and when I came in to check on the project, they had it all lit up, and they were looking at it, and they were like astounded by what they saw. They just the looks on their faces, and it was just really impressive to talk to them about it. We were talking a little bit about disability and certain things, and so it was really, for me, it was a small interaction that did a lot of wonders for me. So we're really praying. I've really been praying about this particular season, and the fact is that I have been doing a lot of discussion on disability with it. Within the last couple of years, I've really taken this to the next level. I didn't even think that was even possible, man.
So, any thoughts on season 23 yet?
I've got a couple ideas I'm toying with. Season 22 is a very good build, very solid build, and I think that there's some additional things I can do. There are a couple of things I definitely want to do differently than what I did this year. A couple ideas didn't exactly work according to plan, but they still look nice enough that it's worth revisiting. I think one of the things I love about this particular build is I use a lot more transparent bricks in it, probably more so than I have in previous years, and that seems to be one of my reoccurring themes the last couple of years. I replaced some solid brick at the end of last season with some more translucent pieces, and with the Grand Cross, and that made things stand out even more so. When you had the project without lights on, without the house lights on, oh my gosh. You can see in detail the full effect of what I'm trying to work through when I'm using all those parts. But yeah, in terms of overall plans for season 23, probably more translucent bricks, and my bricklink vendors are going to love me for that one. I will probably be cleaning people out of their supplies more than likely.
Where can our viewers go to check out your work, or maybe support you if they wanted to?
Best place to go is the Lego Church Project Facebook page. I do a lot of stuff on there every so often. I also usually post the interviews and stuff that I do. You can also check me on Twitter under my call sign KC8WZM. And actually, I do want to share a little bit with your audience. I'm an amateur radio operator, and I have been for almost as long as I've been doing the project. But I got a funny story about how I actually got into it.
All right.
So I'm a guy with learning disabilities. I don't learn at the same rate everyone else does. I had about 2.5 weeks to study for this test. It's a 35-question test. Not very easy. But we wanted to get in before they changed the question pool. Then I'd have to start the learning process all over again. So I spent about 2.5 weeks learning daily everything I needed to learn about the amateur radio. And I passed it on the first try. Almost didn't pass, but I did.
But you did. It doesn't matter. You did.
So yeah, talk about grace of God on that one, man. And I'm still fairly involved in the community with that. So that kind of ties into Twitter. So you ever wonder why does he have such a weird username? That's my call sign.
And I have the Facebook page linked in the notes there, so everyone go ahead and check out the Facebook page. He's always posting some great pictures, photo albums, everything else, all over the place. We only went through 4 pictures, and that was fun just to get take a trip down memory lane, if you will, and go through those.
Yeah, I love that. I love going back in the previous seasons, and a lot of those photo galleries I go back to when I'm building just to see what I did. And sometimes I'll run into a problem like, wait, didn't I solve this one a couple of years ago? Yep, I did.
Well, John, I thank you for your time today, and best of luck on the project going forward. Any last words for our viewers before I let you go for the day?
Well, I always say to everyone who follows me, supports me on social media, you have my deep thanks. Without your support, this project wouldn't exist in the way it does. And I'm very grateful for that. So to everyone, know that you're in my prayers. I'm praying that everyone has a good day today.
All right. Well, thanks, Sean. Thank you for your time today, and God bless you and your ministry.
Thank you.
Take care.